Greetings, folks. AnIolairGhorm here with a World of Warships Division replay. We are featuring Jimijaz in the premium Tier 7 Soviet destroyer, the Leningrad, and myself in the Tier 7 U.S. Navy light cruiser, the USS Helena. We are in a domination match on Haven. We are top tier. There is a Tier 7 aircraft carrier for each team, and the opposing team most notably has an 07 player, Ajax the Great One, but we'll get to that shortly. As far as ship upgrades and commander skills, Jimijaz brings a blend between supporting his gun systems and concealment and endurance with survivability expert. And my build in the Helena is a blend between supporting the HE shells with IFHE and supporting AA. As far as highlights for this battle, Jimijaz and I are going to be doing a lot of work to keep our team in this battle. And Ajax the Great One from the 07 clan on the opposing team will be doing exactly the same. For those of you who do not know, the 07 clan is a North America clan, very competitive. It defeated Omni in the International World of Warships King of the Seas tournament. This is in the last 2-3 weeks. So that was a very prestigious win for the 07 clan, and so we can fully expect Ajax the Great One to do a really good job for his team, and he will not let his team down. There will be a few places, since this is a division replay, that there may be some quick transitions, so just to keep that in mind. So Jimijaz has moved to Charlie here to help contest this cap. He sends out some torps for area denial, but he gets both detected by planes and hard detected by an opposing ship. He wants to creep out here and see what that is, and it is the opposing Mutsuki. So he's going to open up here. I believe the Mutsuki is either fired his guns or is being detected by planes. But Jimijaz is going to get out of Charlie. We've also chased off the Mutsuki and taken out about half of his health in the process. But Jimijaz is going to get out here because he can reasonably anticipate torpedoes coming from the Mutsuki, which they are. And Jimijaz is going to wait until they pass by, and there they are detected. And then he's going to move back towards Charlie. We do have an allied Königsberg on Jim's starboard side. That is moving into Charlie. There he is, and he's going to turn and move towards Bravo, towards that mass of 4 or 5 opposing ships that are moving into Bravo, and he's going to get focused out very quickly and end up being claimed as first blood for the opposing team. So we are going to be down a cruiser here very quickly. Jimijaz is turning back in towards Charlie to recontest the cap, and I am moving up the east flank and trying to get in a position near our Farragut, where I can use the island for some cover, but also help provide some denial for the flank on the east side. Switch to my perspective here. I have a broadside shot on the opposing Omaha. Omaha is a very squishy cruiser. I think most people know it's very unforgiving. It can even be citadeled through the bow by light cruisers with 150 millimeter shells. So I pretty much fire AP exclusively at Omahas when I'm in a light cruiser. The first couple of salvos were a little disappointing, but this next one is going to land a quintuple citadel, and it's going to sink the Omaha for our team's first kill. Our opposing team also lost the destroyer that was in Bravo, and then the opposing team is going to lose their Mutsuki right here as part of probably an unintentional team kill by the opposing Yoko. So our team is officially only really sunk 1 ship, although the opposing team is now down 2. We switch back to Jimijaz because he's now just about to get the cap. Taking a look at the tactical situation, we are too much on the east side, and Jim and I are turning around to move back towards defending the west flank to prevent ships from coming through this narrow channel. And here I'm getting in a position to fire on this opposing Königsberg that's charging our Furutaka. This is a little bit of a kill steal. I was worried about the Furutaka taking a ton of torpedoes from the Königsberg and allowing the Königsberg to survive. But I apologize to the Furutaka player if he thought he was about to get that kill, but I did want to make sure that the Furutaka at least could live a little bit longer. But he's making the same choice as our allied Königsberg and driving blindly into the Bravo cap area, and is going to get finished off here very soon. Switch back to Jim and my perspective, sort of toggling here as we are moving west. There's going to be a couple of times I'm going to ping on the map and ask the folks that are on the east flank to be moving more towards the center of the map, help bolster the west flank so that the large force that's pushing through Bravo isn't able to overwhelm our west flank. I'm firing on this opposing Furitaka, and then I notice a very low health Emile Berton. I want to get him out of the way, so next salvo's out on him, and I'm going to finish him off for my third kill. Not a lot of damage done so far, but important to get some of these kills done because our team was already down 3 ships as well. Switch back to Jim's perspective as he's moving towards trying to provide some area denial and spotting on the west flank because we did lose our destroyer on that side. This way Jim can also engage any opposing destroyer that attempts to push through Bravo and come down into Delta. Our concern here is going to be the Lion and the Furitaka. Here we detect the opposing Farragut. I think Jim wanted to get his torps off towards the Furitaka first before trying to engage the Farragut here. It's being fired upon by 3 ships, so he needs to be a little bit careful here. The Leningrad obviously very fast. Basically its speed is his armor, but he does take a little chunk of damage there from the Furitaka and the Farragut. Here comes some shells in from the Lion. He's able to avoid most of them. I'm going to switch back to my perspective in the Helena because now the Furitaka here is broadside to me, so I'm going to put in some AP salvos here. Not landing any citadels here, which is a little disappointing. I do get some decent pens and a pile of overpens. Now this is one of the first mistakes that I make in this battle. I am too broadside to this Furitaka, and this Furitaka player either knowingly or just by circumstance is firing AP. It is a 203mm heavy cruiser round, and it can seriously wreck people and light cruisers, including myself. And there, I take a very bad hit. He takes out my engine. I expect that he got at least 1 citadel on me. So right now, I'm quite overextended. I had switched back to AP, thinking that he was going to switch back to full broadside on me, which he turned back in. So here I'm trying to mitigate another round, and he gets a couple more pens on me. So this Furitaka has done a lot of damage to me. Jim and I have him in a crossfire, hoping to get him down here very quickly, because I don't want to take another round from him. I get the 4th kill, and since this match occurred when we were still doing the Ovechkin event, I earned the Mini Kraken or the 4-goal haul achievement. I'm going to switch back to Jim's perspective because he wants to both provide spotting on the west flank but also get an opportunity to move into Bravo. I have moving south because I need to get back into make sure I'm in some concealment, and I'm also trying to decide which way I go. I don't want to get basically cornered by the opposing Lion, because the Lion only needs to get a few shells on me and take me out of the match. And initially I was thinking I would try to continue to move west with Jim, but I will end up turning around and heading back the other direction because I'm afraid that I'm going to get squeezed out from a detection perspective by the Lion as he's coming south through Bravo. The opposing Gajah-Mada, this is Ajax the Great One, who had taken Bravo. His last known position is still northeast of Bravo, although know for sure that he's not there anymore. He is going to actually move back towards Charlie to help take that cap, because right now the teams are neck and neck. It's anybody's game at this point. Jim's putting some sustained fire here. Now, one thing that's important here is Jim got 2 fires on the opposing Lion, which he is now damage conned. And he's now out of Jim's reach, but he's not out of my reach, and I've called target on the Lion. I'm going to switch to my perspective here fairly shortly as Jim is driving back towards Bravo. Actually, you can see gunfire coming from Ajax the Great One in the Gajah-Mada from that smoke cloud that's on the northeast side of Bravo. Again, I've called target on the Lion. I'm pinging on the map because we're too far spread out on the west flank. I'm sorry, on the east flank. We've now switched back to my perspective, and this is again where I mentioned it's important to know that the opposing Leon has used damage control in the last minute or so. I get one fire, and I am going to get a second fire on him, and that's going to be really crucial here to be able to get this opposing battleship out of the way. Switch back to to Jimijaz's perspective in the Leningrad. As he's pushing into Bravo, he's sending some torpedoes on the New Mexico that's moving south. There you can see the Ajax the Great One in the Gajah. He has just moved into Charlie to take that cap, and because he knows that Jim is here and our allied Farragut, he may not know where the Farragut is exactly, but he knows the Farragut's not in the cap. And so he's going to be able to take that cap without too much resistance. Switch back to my perspective in the Helena. I am going to take a couple of shells here from the Leon, but I'm going to get enough shells on the Leon and take him out of the match. And that is Kraken Unleashed. Switch back to Jim's view while he's in Bravo. He does get 3 torpedoes on the opposing New Mexico. He wants to stay in some concealment here between the smoke and the island so that he can get the Bravo cap. We have lost the Charlie cap. Again, Ajax the Great One in the Gajah is very mindful of the current situation and is working to make sure that his team keeps getting caps so that they don't fall too far behind. In fact, they have a slight lead right now, and that this is, again, coming down to going to be a very close match. We're going to stick with Jim here for the next few minutes as he's going to move up north and try to get on the flank on the west side of Alpha to put fire on the destroyer and the battleships that are on. In fact, he's actually looking for the New Mexico because he did get flooding in the New Mexico, and he's a little bit surprised that he hasn't seen them. I am moving north and want to get to the island that is on the east side of Bravo, so I can fire into the Alpha Cap region with concealment. Finally, we do see the opposing New Mexico, and he is just within Jim's range, but Jim is going to go around this island and is not going to be able to fire on the New Mexico. I will be able to fire on the New Mexico shortly with the aid of my Colorado. Jim is coming up here to intercept one of the last 2 opposing destroyers. And one thing I was just about to say is that our allied Leon went into the Charlie cap basically with no escort. He got focused out by both the carrier and Ajax the Great One. In fact, Ajax the Great One was the one that I was more concerned about. Jim has now engaged the opposing Farragut. Sent a couple spreads of torpedoes. He's now going to finish gunning down the Farragut. In fact, the Farragut may take a torpedo before Jim's able to finish him off with guns. Oh, guns, get him first. So Jim has now eliminated the destroyer threat on this flank and is now going to focus on the ships that are in the Alpha area. We have a very low health Myoko, and this is going to actually be a frustration point for Jim because he's trying very hard to finish off this cruiser as well, and he's going to get him down to just a couple of 100 hit points. There he gets a fire, which is going to get damage controlled. Those torpedoes expire right before they hit the opposing carrier. Jim is getting hits, and he is getting pens, but he's hitting areas that appear to be damage saturated. There's a fire actually on the carrier, and that fire is also going to be damage controlled, and that's going to be important because now we're switching to my perspective. You can see my position by this cap. You can also see that the Bravo cap is being contested again. So Ajax the Great One in the Gajah has moved back to Bravo to take that cap, and I have gotten detected. Here I'm switching to the Myoko because Jim is like begging me to try to hit the Myoko and finish him off. We also have the allied Farragut that's firing on him. Now this is kind of my second mistake in the game. I overstayed my welcome here. I do like using this position with the U.S. Navy cruisers because the island mass does allow me to fire over it and shoot into the Bravo and Alpha caps, but I am being detected. both by planes and by at points by Ajax the Great One in the Gajah, and that is going to end up being my mistake. There I am able to finish off the opposing Nagato between my fires and the guns. I was able to finish him off. At this point, I really should be moving forward. There is the Gajah. He's in Gulf 4. He starts opening up on me. He sent torpedoes, which I did light up with my hydro. He knows to use AP when I'm broadside to him, which I was to a large extent, and he's taken a big chunk of my remaining health out. And so I'm obviously trying to avoid the torpedoes, but we're going to come back to me here in a second. Jim has now moved into the Alpha Cap and is working to finish off the opposing carrier, since we've now eliminated all the opposing ships in the Alpha flank. Gets another fire on him. Switch back to my view because I get detected by planes, but I am not close enough to the island that's on my port side, and Ajax the Great One is able to use one of these low islands to fire over from concealment. He gets one fire, which I damage control, but he now has set a second fire, and I can't put this out, and I am now going to go down. So I'm down. We have eliminated all the other opposing foes other than Ajax the Great One in the Gajah, but it's still a very close game. The point differential is only about 80 points, and Jim is just about to capture Alpha here, and Ajax the Great One is headed towards Delta. Now, Jim has asked our Farragut to move to Charlie to contest the cap. Our allied Colorado is actually moving to Charlie. He calls out and says, "I've got Charlie." The problem is that the Gajah will be able to see him while he's capping Delta, and there is Ajax the Great One, and is going to be able to continually reset the Charlie cap. So if our Farragut goes to Charlie, he can help take that cap as an insurance policy in the event that Ajax the Great One is able to finish off the Colorado. But then at least we could get the Charlie cap, and the Farragut can stay in some concealment and take the cap. But for whatever reason, our Farragut player, we just don't understand why he didn't head towards Charlie right away. He seems to be just following Jim around, or maybe he's trying to shoot down airplanes for additional XP. We just don't know. So Jim has moved into Bravo to again retake that cap. Again, we're trying to make sure that we have some insurance to ensure the win in case the Gajah is able to finish off the Colorado, which he is almost going to be able to do here. It's very close. Our team is only getting points from one cap at this point, which is Alpha. And so our progress is a little bit slow. Jim initially was thinking he would come and engage the Gajah from come through the south side, but he decides that he wants to come through the center channel between Bravo and Charlie, so that if Ajax the Great One does end up finishing off the Colorado and then moves to Charlie, Jim can intercept him more easily. Again, you can see the Farragut's just kind of lingering around on the south side of Alpha. We're not sure what he's doing. Also, I should note, this is Jim's 4th solo cap. So that's a reflection of how close this game has had to be, that, you know, Jim, as one of our 3 destroyers, is needed to get 4 solo caps. Here you can see the Allied Colorado, who entered the cap with maybe a little less than half of his full health, is now almost completely dead. And here we are going to win on points, and Jim doesn't need to engage Ajax the Great One. So a very close game, very well played by Ajax the Great One. So hats off to him. He did a really good job working to keep his team in this game. So that was definitely a very interesting experience. So I'll leave the results up for both Jimijaz and myself, and we certainly do hope you have enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below, and as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.